What do you know? In the midst of this coronavirus pandemic, people are starting to realize that perhaps Medicare for all might be a good idea. Perhaps having a universal healthcare program might be a good idea to combat a global pandemic. So a new Morning Consult poll has come out, and it's shown that Medicare for All's popularity has surged. The sweeping health reform package championed by Senator Bernie Sanders that would provide all Americans with health insurance through the government now has support from 55% of registered voters per a March 27th to 29th survey of almost 2,000 respondents, taken as the United States becomes the global epicenter of the coronavirus. God, that is hard to say, but yes, we are the epicenter because we are the wealthiest country in the world. We're densely populated, and yet we do not have a universal healthcare system unlike the rest of the industrialized world. 35% of voters continue to oppose the proposal, putting net support, the share of support minus those who oppose, at 20 points. A 9-point jump from mid-February. So that's 55% of registered voters support it, 35 oppose. 20-point gap. We're talking about what kind of ideas can win a general election. Joe Biden, on the more conservative end of that. So looking at that, 55% of Americans, over half of Americans support it. The Democratic nominee likely, unfortunately, doesn't support that proposal. That, by definition, makes you a conservative because half of Americans are in favor of one bill, one iteration of single-payer healthcare, and Joe Biden is against that. The 55% share is the highest level of support Morning Consult has recorded since June 2019, when 54% backed Medicare for all. The latest figure is also within the 2-point margin of error of the recorded high 56% figure notched in January 2019, blah, blah, blah. So they asked that at the beginning of the presidential primary. It's been every single debate. How are you going to pay for it? 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 And it dipped in popularity because everyone watching was like, oh, wow, maybe this is completely unrealistic and terrible. But now that we are dealing with a global pandemic, people are starting to realize perhaps they can pay for it. Perhaps the Fed can pull trillions of dollars out of their ass and ensure that people are able to get the resources that they need. So yeah, we can pay for it. And here's the kicker. Though Democrats drove the movement in the most recent poll, they didn't do it alone. For the first time since June 2019, a majority of independents are in favor of Medicare for all, 52%, sparking an 8-point increase in net support among this demographic since February. Bernie Sanders, it was always going to be a really tough road through the Democratic primary because you have MSNBC propaganda ensuring that people despise Bernie Sanders. Like, I can't tell you how many of my friends have texted me and said, you know, my parents watch MSNBC all day and they tell me that they hate Bernie Sanders, and I'm like, what is that, right? And that's what it is. It's propaganda. And the reality, though, when you get outside of Democratic voter circles and the Democratic primary electorate, the ideas that Bernie Sanders espouses with apolitical people and with independents, it just plays. It just plays. And God, he would do so much better than Joe Biden in the general election versus Trump. I feel like I have this terrible deja vu. Someone with no ideas going up against a very entertaining, bully, xenophobe president. And now Trump has an incumbency advantage. And Biden opposes populist ideas that are supported by over half of Americans. We've seen this movie before.